Hello everyone, welcome to the Navin Times Talk from the Heart. It is said that after the fear of death, the fear of public speaking is the most universal. Why do we get so scared, so terrified, sometimes paralyzed into not moving when it comes to public speaking? What is it that puts an obstacle in our way? How do we overcome it? How do we become good speakers? To answer all these questions and to make us understand what we can do to become better speakers, we have with us distinguished Toastmaster of Toastmasters International, Ashley Lobo. Hello Ashley, welcome to our show and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much for calling me. This is indeed a pleasure.
It is a pleasure for us as well, and it's going to be, I know for a fact, Ashley, that it's going to be a learning experience because we all have, so many fears. I'm sure those who are watching us have the same thing to say, that when it comes to public speaking, it's like, oh my goodness, not me. Why don't you ask him or why don't you ask her? So, yes, Ashley, before we continue, distinguished Toastmaster. What does this signify? What is it all about?
In Toastmasters, you've got different levels of education. And when you get to you finish all the levels of education, you can pick which path you take. Then they call you a distinguished Toastmaster.
So you have been with Toastmasters for how long?
I've been with Toastmasters since 2012, so 8-9 years.
Okay, all right. And before that, you were in the United States, you were VP for banks on Wall Street. Am I right? Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, we want to know from banking to Toastmasters International, and now you are also a trainer for communication.
And let me tell you something, Maria. This is something you may not know, but when I tell my friends back in the States that I'm a distinguished Toastmaster and I teach speaking and train people in speaking, they all have a good laugh.
Now I'm laughing because that's funny that they're having a good laugh. You're an amazing speaker.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to put it out there. When I was there working, doing presentations in front of huge crowds, I was one of the worst speakers and with the biggest fear of speaking. Here is a story. When I went down for my sister's 50th birthday, I flew all the way from here to New Jersey and I spoke for 35 seconds. My brother was so upset. He's like, you came all the way. You flew all the way. I said, I came all the way to spend time with my sister, but I couldn't speak for longer than that. And she didn't get upset. She said, I expected about that. And things did change, but that fear of speaking, glossophobia is what they call it, I definitely had it. Not more than the fear of dying, but definitely had it. And there are many reasons why people fear speaking. And thinking about it, one of the reasons why people fear speaking is sometime when you're in school, someone might have laughed at you. Maybe in kindergarten, you get up and you mispronounce a word and everyone has a good chuckle and they laugh and they kid you in the playground. And that is the start where your fear of public speaking comes out. And I researched this a little bit. And public speaking, you're there. Right now I'm talking to a camera. I am putting myself out there to be ridiculed. And none of us want to look ridiculous. And that's where most of the fear comes from. Yes, there are a few people who are painfully shy and they need to be able to speak in a conversation before they move on to public speaking. But public speaking itself, when you fear that, you fear being ridiculed. And we've seen that with many, many people. Even a number of adults who've joined Toastmasters, for example, and Toastmasters does not claim that it does this, who've lost their stutter, lost their stammer, spoken in front of 250, 300 people, and done fabulously well. But it all comes from that fear of being laughed at. One interesting thing about this fear, I told you, I had this fear of public speaking. I couldn't speak for more than 30 seconds at my sister's birthday.
50th birthday, yes.
50th birthday. I flew off with, and everyone else was giving these 3-4 minute speeches. However, when I was working in Bankers Trust and Deutsche Bank, I gave long speeches and long seminars, at seminars, a lot of presentations for 45 minutes, 50, in front of CEOs, CTOs, really highly educated and people right at the top of the industry. And I didn't have a problem.
Why so?
So now that is actually something that I've noticed even at Toastmasters and with other friends. I've got friends who are lecturers. They're talking to large groups of students. No problem. I've got friends who are teachers. They speak to parents, they speak to students. They don't have a problem. But if you ask them to speak in front of an audience, they say, no, we can't do it. And that comes from not, how should I put it? Let's take the difference. We'll step back a little bit. Very few of us have a problem having a conversation with other people in public. Very rarely do we say, okay, I'm so scared. Come into a corner, let's talk. You have a group of people, you have a conversation. And so what's the difference between a conversation and public speaking? In a conversation, I'm having a conversation with you, you're nodding, so I know, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm not talking complete nonsense, she is nodding, I should continue talking. Or you would say, no, I think, let's talk about something else. You might just jump in. Not during this interview, but in a group of friends. You get that instant feedback that what you're talking about makes sense.
That is in a one-to-one conversation.
Even a multiple, if you're in a group of...
Yes, I mean a small group.
A small group.
It's just the big group that causes the problem.
But when you're public speaking, you're getting very little feedback. You've picked a topic, you don't know if anyone is even interested in it. You don't even know if you're on topic. And that's when that feeling of ridiculousness comes up. You say, am I being ridiculous? Am I completely off topic? Are they even interested in what I'm saying?
Am I making sense?
Absolutely. But when I was giving these seminars,
presentations as well,
people were coming to listen to me because I had a piece of knowledge that they wanted. People are coming to teachers because they are teaching them something. They want to hear that. You don't have that fear. You know what you're talking about is what people have come for. At a seminar, I knew, wait a minute, if they're not interested in what I'm saying, they won't even waste their time sitting in the hall. They just leave. These are they're not being paid to sit there. Students, the same thing, especially, they're forced to sit there. But you can speak. They have to listen because they're going to get tested on it.
True.
So that fear of being off point does not exist.
So would you include the fear of the unknown? In this scenario, in this point that you've made, would the fear of the unknown, first and foremost, I don't know if they understand me. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know if they're listening. What if they're not listening? What if, they're doing something else, they're playing with their phone? I'm sure most of you all have felt this at some point during public speaking. So actually, so fear of unknown is another major factor, wouldn't you agree?
Fear of the unknown, I agree, is what makes you feel maybe I'm being ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I keep coming back to, you talk to people who fear public speaking, you tell them, let's go to a hike into the Himalayas, and they'll be willing to come. There's so many unknowns out there. So they don't really fear the unknown. They do fear looking ridiculous, though. So it comes back to it. You're right. It's unknown. You don't know whether you are on point. Is it a topic that people want to listen to?
And will they laugh at me?
Will they laugh at me?
What if I make a mistake? What if I forget my lines? Who's going to laugh at me and who's going to laugh the most? I understand that feeling. I've had it, initially, but gladly, happily, I'm so excited that it has gone off and, I'm not. But of course, actually, even I think the best speakers at some point, if they are asked to give a speech, it's not always, oh, I'm ready, I'm confident, I'm going to do it. It's not always like that. There is a certain level of apprehension, would you say so?
Let me answer that question very, very quickly. You touched my hand. Just see how cold it is.
This is very platonic, guys. No.
Very platonic. How cold is it?
Yes. Oh, no, it's the AC that's really...
No, it isn't. The fear of speaking is always there. Am I sure that what I'm talking about, the audience is going to like? Do I even know what I'm talking about you're going to like? Are you controlling your laughter? I don't know that. Now, yes, I do know to some extent, and here is the first tip with public speaking: get to know your audience. And Maria will tell you, we had multiple conversations. And one of the I'm happy you wanted to have the conversations, but I wanted to have them as well. Just to get an idea, is what we're going to talk about suitable for your audience? So that gives me a feeling of comfort. Wait a minute, maybe everything I'm talking about is not nonsense. So how do you convert a public speech into a conversation? Get to know your audience. The minute you know this is my audience, then you need to write whatever you're going to speak for that audience. And this is so important, Maria, because let's say we're going to talk about a new drug, a new miracle drug. I go there and I talk about this in a school. And all the kids love it, the teachers love it, everyone loves it. They say, oh, you know what? You need to go talk about it at GMC to the students there. And I go and give the same speech there. Students at GMC are just going to be, why be wasting our time? And as you said, they'll all be on their phones. Why is that? Their requirement of what they need to know about the drug is quite different from what school students need to know, what parents need to know, what doctors need to know, what pharmacists need to know. You need to know, hang on, this is my target audience, so I'm going to tailor my speech for them. And if you do that, generally, you will get people being extremely interested in what you're saying. If you don't, you use a boilerplate speech that you've given to doctors and you give it to pharmacists, they're not going to listen to you because it's not of interest to them.
True. Now, there is one problem, and I'm sure our viewers must be thinking the same, is that I can know my audience if it is a small audience. What happens if I give a speech? For example, I have been asked to give a speech for my cousin's wedding. I have to raise the toast. Now what? How do I know the 200, 300 or 500 and go? It's 500 people that normally go for a wedding reception. So how do you do that? I'm sure you're thinking that. So Ashley.
Now that actually is reasonably easy, Maria, because everyone who's come for that wedding, or at least almost every one of them, have come to celebrate the couple and celebrate with the family. So you already know what they want to listen to. They are not really interested in hearing a speech about the political situation in the Americas or in India or in Goa. They're really not interested. They're interested in, wait a minute, what are some fun things about this couple? What are some fun things about the family? What are some historical things maybe? And that is easy for you to research and do. You go talk to the family, you figure out what everything is all about, what drives them, what maybe are these little nuggets which everyone else doesn't know. And you share them. You can have little quizzes to get the audience involved. But luckily there, that kind of an audience, you do know why they're there. They're there not to sit and listen to you speak, so keep it short. And then make sure it's interesting, giving them little nuggets. So then you give a great speech at a wedding. I mean, you raise the toast, and some of the best toasts are that. That's a public speech where they've done the research, they talk about it for a short period of time, and you're done.
You know, I have been very often when I suggest people should learn public speaking, most people say to me, that's okay for you because you are on TV and you interview people, and so that's fine for you. Why do we need to learn public speaking? I know public speaking is beneficial, you know public speaking is beneficial, but can you elaborate on, you know, the other various reasons that public speaking is so important?
Okay, public speaking, of all the soft skills that you have, is probably the most important. Absolutely the most important. I know from my own experience, I would have done significantly better when I was working in the States if I had I spent some time trying to improve my public speaking skills. Because as much as public speaking is about speaking, very important part of public speaking is being able to listen. It's just like when we were talking, you were listening to me, I was listening to you, and that helped me crystallize what I needed to say. Now, knowing public speaking will definitely get you ahead. You pick any profession, you're a team leader, you still need to address your team. It might be informal, it might be formal.
I'm an accountant, why would I need that?
You need to go and talk to clients.
No, mine is a back office. I'm playing the devil's advocate, but I'm just saying I'm an accountant, but I sit in the back office. I don't need to speak to people. I speak to my family members and my boss. I think that's okay. So what do you have to say about that?
Oh, absolutely. If you're happy if you're happy being an accountant and you have no aspirations to move up in your organization or your company, then you might say, I don't really need it. But let's take this accountant who doesn't have any aspirations. You still have social aspirations. The minute you get these public speaking skills, and mainly it's that getting rid of the fear, being able to structure something really quickly that makes sense, your voice is going to be heard in social gatherings. People will say, hey, come on, why don't you tell us about it? You've read up all these things. Why don't you talk about it? That is a form of public speech, because it's not a conversation, even though it's a small social gathering. It's not a conversation. Then you're going to talk about it. You're going to talk about it for maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and they're going to listen. The first time they ask you to do it, you mess it up, they will not ask you again. That is really then how good is your life? Do you always want to be the person who's there, not asked to speak, sitting on the back? Or do you want to just take one step forward? And it's so simple to do.
So does public speaking is beneficial in all spheres of your life, would you say?
I would say absolutely. Because public speaking, from one perspective, is getting rid of that fear, talking to people. The other thing is you need to be able to rationalize and channelize your thoughts so that you can present it in a way for who is listening. And that is the key thing that I tell everyone. Do not tell people what you want them to hear. Doesn't matter what I want to say. It's very important that you tell people what they want to hear, what they need to hear. So that's the key thing. The minute you get into that, you will find that people are more accepting of what you say, significantly more. And then you're doing public speaking in a small group, maybe a bigger group. And I've had friends who, a year ago, would say standing in front of a crowd and addressing them would be
difficult.
Not difficult. It would not be possible.
Paralyzing.
It was not even in that whole spectrum of possible and impossible. It was at the bottom of the impossible part of the spectrum. And one of these guys actually came to Azad Maidan maybe 3 or 4 months ago, where there was some kind of I don't know what the issue was. Unfortunately, he got up and he spoke and addressed the crowd.
That's amazing. So that just proves that there is hope for all of us, that you may really be a bumbling, you know, not confident person and who cannot speak. Some may say you're very shy. But I think public speaking, from what little Ashley has said to us, can help. It's not going to be extremely easy, but it's, I think, a little work that goes into it. Not little, I think a lot of work will go into it.
Now, on that, I have to say one thing. There are multiple reasons why people get nervous.
True.
And we talked about it, the fear of the unknown, as you said, actually the fear of sounding ridiculous, not being heard. That's the first one. And you can work on that. You can find out who your target audience is, who the target group is. You know what they want to hear, and you address it. A friend of mine, she was going to talk to Rotarians. And for the first time she was doing it. But she talked about why you need to listen to your kids. And all those parents, they wanted to hear that. What do we do with our kids? And then she gave them the simple message. This is the way you listen. You need to listen to kids. This is how you listen. Don't listen this way. Do this. They all wanted to hear more of it. But that she knew what that target audience is, and she did it.
And she picked up the right topic.
She picked the right topic because she knew what they wanted to hear. Now, she had not been a great public speaker. How did she get there? You can only get there. How do you lose your fear? You need to be able to do it. It is critical that you keep doing it. The more often you do it, the less your fear becomes. You realize that that fear is not true. And when I say the more you do it, I'm not saying practice in front of a mirror. The mirror is not going to laugh at you. And the fact that the mirror doesn't laugh at you doesn't give you any confidence. Don't practice in front of your family, because they're going to be nice to you. They're going to say it's good, whether it's good or bad. So if they tell you it's really good, you don't get that confidence that you're good, because you say, they'll always say I'm good. And you need to join and speak in front of multiple people. You need to join a club or a group.
There is a question, but let's finish with what you are saying.
You need to join a club or a group where you get to speak in front of multiple people and get feedback from them. You need to be able to stand in front of a group of people, give a speech, get the feedback of them not sniggering and laughing at you, so that that fear that people will laugh at you will go away. The more often you do it, that fear goes away. Then finally you'll say, no, I know people will not laugh at me, and these are not my friends. These are not necessarily my family. And then they're going to give you feedback, hopefully honest feedback. The more honest the feedback is,
the better it is.
It is, because then you say, wait a minute, that's on honest feedback. Someone says, you use too many ums during your speech, and you say, yeah, maybe I do. The next time you'll try and reduce it.
Right.
If they say everything is perfect, and you listen to yourself and you say,
oh no,
then it's not good. So it's very important that you want to get rid of this fear, you need to join a club. There are many options. The option of choice for me, because it allows you to do 3 things, is Toastmasters. And I'll just mention the reasons, and I'll also mention, if you want, other ways to do it.
Okay. I think let's take the question.
Yeah.
This is Siddhant Garde, and he's asked us 2 questions, one after the other. So that means he's paying attention. I have studied an English medium school, but still unable to speak fluently around a large group of people. That's Siddhant's first question, and I am going to read the second as well. I feel sad because I'm presently studying for IELTS and have a tough time preparing for the speaking part. Siddhant, I don't think you need to lose heart. Ashley is going to give you some tips, and I'm telling you, you will ace that. But of course, like I've said before, because I know it from experience, Ashley has said it himself, it's practice, practice, and lots of practice. So can you answer Siddhant and help him, please?
Siddhant, the first thing when you're talking about speaking, understand one thing. People are not looking for complete fluency. They're not things like accent, mumbling a little bit is less important. Being able to project confidence is the most important thing. People want to listen to people who are confident. If you are confident, you want to people want to listen to you. If you are not confident and you're looking up, down, everywhere while answering like I'm doing right now, what would you think, Siddhant, if I was just looking up? You would say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not so sure of his answers. So those are the skills that you need. Now, where will you get it? I don't know what your age is, Siddhant, but if you're over 18, I would suggest you look for a club like Toastmasters or any other speaking club in Goa, if you're from Goa, and join. Yes, there may be a fee involved, but that gets paid off completely with where you go in life. If you get the confidence to be able to speak confidently, forget the fluency, if it's less important. Projecting confidence, the most important thing. You can't practice that in front of friends. You can't practice that in front of a mirror. You can't practice it by just reading and memorizing what you want to say. You practice in front of people. You get the feedback from them. Make sure you join a club which is very, very, very supportive, where they look at you, they come back to you and say, we like what you did, and you showed a lot of courage. They know that you're speaking for the first time, you're nervous. They will come and tell you all the things that you need to hear, because that brings down that level of nervousness. Believe me, the more confident you get, the more fluent you'll get, because then you're not going to hesitate. You're going to say, I can speak with confidence. I know my material. I'm going to tell you. Has this worked? When I was teaching at GIM, there was a speaking club there, not Toastmasters, but formalized speaking club called Agora. And many people at GIM come from a background where they don't know that much of English. They come.
It is not their first language.
Not their first language, sometimes not the language that they have studied in, even in college. Though college might be English medium, a lot of the instruction and conversation happens in Hindi or Oriya, and that's not a problem. The better speakers didn't join the club, though I told them, please join, because other speakers can listen to you. You will get better, they'll get better. This one guy took it to heart. Couldn't speak too well when I met him. I was teaching, he asked me, I said, join the club. You need to start giving speeches. He gave a few speeches. And then at the end of his second year, he sent me a message. He said, sir, they had a project presentation and I won it.
That's amazing.
What it said is, this guy who could not speak so well gained the confidence of being able to be very fluent. I'm not saying his grammar was the best. I'm not saying his accent was the best. I've spoken to him, but that didn't matter. He spoke with confidence. He structured his presentation so well. He won it. And this is with a bunch of people from all over whose medium of instruction is English, was English from when they were kids. They should have aced it.
Right.
But that came from him just repeating, practicing, and he's got a great job now. That was not a waste of his time.
So, Siddhant, I hope you have got your answer, and you have said that you are appearing for your IELTS. All the very best. Do let us know how you fare. I'm sure you will do really well. Picking on Siddhant's question, where he said, I don't speak fluently, and there are many people like Siddhant who have a very heavy accent. How is there any way we can neutralize that?
Yes, you could. Now, I'll be honest with you, very simple to neutralize or correct accents today. Very different from 8 years ago, very different from 35 years ago when I started working, maybe more than 35 years. But Siddhant, what I'm going to tell you, You can neutralize the accent. Understand who you're speaking to. I'll give you a story from my past. I was working for the bank, and I went down to Spain and met these people in Spain. They're not English speakers. They speak mainly Spanish, but they knew English. They could speak, and we would converse. And I was shocked. Now my accent was, half Indian, half American-ish, not even ish. They turned around to me at lunch. They took me out for lunch at the end of it, and they said, we're so happy you came. I said, oh, I'm happy I could solve your problem. They said, oh, that was good, but we can understand you. Now, the other people who come here, we can hardly understand what they're talking about. And those guys who came, they're Brits. They're from England. They speak English better than I do. But the fact that I had a bad accent and I was didn't matter to these guys. The fact that they could understand what I spoke was more important. Now, correcting your accent is important if you're going to be a public speaker in front of an audience that is more international. Getting rid of, say, a heavy Keralite accent, if all the time you're going to be speaking in Kerala, is not worth it. They might not understand you. The Keralite accent would be useful there. If you're going to use that accent when you go to Delhi, maybe not. How do you correct your accent? Very simple though. Almost everyone's got a cell phone. You got a word, you go on the cell phone and say, you put in the word, it comes up with a dictionary. And in that dictionary you have that little audible thing. It'll repeat how it's supposed to be pronounced. So you now know how you should pronounce this word. That's not where you end. Turn on the recorder on your cell phone, try and say it. You'd be surprised with how you sound. The unfortunate thing about speaking, I mispronounce a lot of words. I don't realize it. I know the right pronunciation. Till I record myself, I don't know that. Because my brain tells me I'm saying it correctly. I don't realize I'm mispronouncing it. The minute you record yourself, then you listen to what it's supposed to sound like, then you say, oh, that's a difference. Your brain will process that in no time at all. In less than 5 seconds, not 5 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, you'd say it a few times, listen to the right thing, say it, listen to yourself, say it, listen to yourself, and it'll be correct. A little tip that I used when I was in part of the Goa University choir. The choir master made us sing songs in Aztec and stuff like that, words that you can complete mumbo jumbo. And he would teach us the pronunciation of the words. I wrote all the words in Hindi or phonetically. Because if I read the words, I would pronounce it differently. But if I read it in Devanagari script or in English phonetically, I could pronounce it correctly. And that's the trick that you use to correct your accent.
Right.
These are two tricks.
But actually, that would take a lot of time and a lot of effort.
But I'm going to ask you, Maria, the first thing, if you're scared of public speaking, you're not that good. You're going to be practicing in front of many people. You're not going to get there in a day. You're not going to get there in a week. When you join a club like Toastmasters, for example, or a Gavels club or any other club, you need to commit to it for a year, 2 years, because
only then you will see the results.
You will not, yes, because you're not going to be speaking every day. If you join a club where you speak every day, you can stay for a month. But you're going to speak once, twice every 2 months. That's not enough. And more importantly, the great thing about a club, you listen to good speakers and bad speakers. So you listen to good speakers, you say, I want to do that. This is how the person has, I love the way they put it. You listen to a bad speaker, you say, I never want to do that. But it's still gone into your brain. And your brain says, I will not do
It
it.
knows the difference, and then that is where you
Correct.
come.
And then
You know, could I use a, because you're a banker, I'm itching to use it. So basically, joining a club where you can improve your public speaking is like a long-term investment. I'm feeling so happy to say that. So it's a long-term investment. You will see the returns, but it's going to take some time and lots of effort.
not as much effort, I'll be honest with you, but it'll take time. Now I'm going to tell you, you say, you know, you're a banker, you join a club. I didn't join a club when I was a banker.
You did it later.
I did much later, and the reason I joined Toastmasters, I retired when I was 40 when we came down here, and my wife wanted me out of the house. And a friend we met said, I'm a Toastmaster, and Giselle, my wife, said, you are joining that club. And I said, no, I don't want to be a public speaker. And she said, no, you go and see the meeting and don't come home till you join the club. And I joined. And
you're a very obedient husband, I must say.
I'm not sure Giselle will agree.
Giselle, I hope you're listening, and he makes you sound really sweet though. Yes.
But I joined, and every time I was, after 6 months, I didn't want to continue, though I'd done a lot of speeches and I enjoyed myself.
Why so? Why did you want to
Because
stop?
being a public speaker, I didn't feel this need to, you know, why am I doing this? It was, but I stuck with it. I made some mistakes along the way. And I'm going to tell you all not to make those mistakes. I will mention some of those mistakes. My biggest mistake, though, was not joining a club like Toastmasters when I was in the States. Funny story, there were 30 clubs within 5 minutes of my office. I didn't even know about them.
Mm-hmm.
If I had, I would have done significantly better in my work life. I know that from multiple perspectives. My colleagues, my bosses would have been more than thrilled. They would send me for public speaking courses, but no practice. So I knew all the techniques. They would send me every time, say, please go for that course. And I would go for that course. They'd spend money. They send me to someone to correct my accent, and I went for the classes, but unless you practice, nothing happens.
Right.
So you need to practice. It doesn't, Toastmasters or a club like a speaking club doesn't take a lot of effort. It takes a lot of commitment. You need to have that commitment. I want to be better. Now, Siddhant or Siddharth?
Siddhant, yes.
He doesn't want to be a public speaker, but he knows that for him to move forward, he needs to be more fluent.
He said he is appearing for the IELTS, so I think that is the main reason for him right now to push himself.
I know,
yes.
but think about it, people who are listening, he's not looking to be a public speaker, but now he realizes being good in vocal delivery is so important. And I know this for a fact, even when I talk to some of the professors who do the interviews of students coming into GIM, they do look for confidence. How do they speak? I do know that when I joined GIM, the director of GIM said, we are getting feedback from interviewers that they are not confident speakers. We are doing all these courses, but they're not confident. That's what interviewers are looking for. So when you said, is it meant for everyone? Yes. Now, someone who's completely satisfied with the job as an accountant in the back office doesn't want anything
and
else.
has no aspirations.
Zero. I've never met someone like that. I'll be honest with you. I have never met someone like that.
But I think if it is even if it's a man or a woman, I'm just saying, you would need some social skills and some oral communication skills to meet people, to network, and then to find the right spouse. Maybe, I'm just saying. And so there is benefit and benefit and benefit of learning that.
Absolutely. Yes. Finding the right spouse. Just about anything.
Making friends.
Making
friends.
Just having the confidence that you don't sound silly will give you the confidence to walk up to a group of people who are laughing and join the conversation. I'm not saying a random group of people. You go for a party. How I remember, I would go for a party. I'm supposed to know. I mean, I was invited. I didn't know anyone there, but I would go and sit by myself because I didn't have the confidence of
speaking to people.
Not that I couldn't speak. I'd spoken in front of 100,000, I mean, not 1,000, 100 people, senior people. But I would go and sit on the side. It's as simple as that. And right now, if someone invites me for a party, I would not feel shy or awkward to go join a group. This has got nothing to do with work. So when you say no aspiration, now there are people who have zero aspirations, I'm sure, but I've never met any of them. I honestly have never met.
Right. You know, you spoke about delivery, and you said it's your delivery that's important. It's your confidence that is important. So besides, in your delivery, besides your confidence that you're speaking so much about, what else would you say makes the delivery something that people want to listen to, something that is like, wow, you know, I want to listen to this person. He or she sounds really good. So is it the language? Is it the tone of voice? Is it the pace? What exactly would it be?
Can you repeat that question? And everyone listen to her, but more importantly, watch her while she's doing it. Because what she was doing, she was using her hands, she was changing her voice, but she had not practiced this. You had not practiced. You were talking just like you would talk to maybe your daughter. When you're talking to your daughter, you're not going to be like this. I think you need to have better delivery. When you're comfortable, you talk very differently.
True.
And when you talk about delivery, really good speeches, that comfort comes with the confidence.
Absolutely.
And what you just asked, what you did, when you asked that question, is a perfect example of beautiful delivery. Everything that you need. There were no big words. There were no huge pauses. There was no lack of confidence. You said it with confidence. It was perfect.
Did you hear? He's on air and he's giving me such a huge compliment. Now, I'm going to say a big thank you to you. But this confidence has come mostly because of these shows that we are doing, because of the workshops. I am going to take this opportunity to say that the Navin Times has been organizing workshops since 2011, and I'm very proud to be associated with them. And these workshops have given me these interviews that we began since May 2020. I'm losing track of time. But May 2020 has given me the opportunity to practice my oral communication skills and to meet some amazing people. I have been able to do that because, as I said, the more I speak to people, the more people I meet, the more the networking happens, the more the practice happens, and the more the confidence. So a reminder that we have done, this is a 94th workshop / interview of the Navin Times. Navin Times has been organizing this since 2011. We are nearing our 100th one, and I'm excited about it. I hope I'm still around then and able to, you know, celebrate it with all of you guys. And I will also take this opportunity to say thank you to all our resource people. They have been our pillars, truly our pillars. And of course the audience and all the people who have participated. Thank you very much, and we look forward to this participation. And I say thanks to Ashley because he gave me this opportunity to say this and tell you about everything we have been doing. I'm not bragging, I'm just being very factual about what we have been doing. Our aim, our objective is to give back to society, to help people, not just in one particular area, no. You know, we have been doing various workshops, and again a reminder, we are listening. We listen, we read your comments, and we take your suggestions. And wherever possible, we utilize them to the best of our knowledge and ability. So, yay, I said it. So get back to Ashley.
But
yes.
You demonstrated something right now which tells you, for public speaking, how important practice is. I've given a lot of speeches. In Toastmasters, I've probably given about maybe 150 speeches or 180, I don't know, a large number of speeches, more than I should have. But most of them were standing up and giving a speech. And while you were speaking, and I did something which maybe I shouldn't have, but maybe I should have. I was watching how you were speaking. As comfortable as I am and confident, I'm sitting like this. And I suddenly realized you're sitting like this, which projects even better for an interview. This comes from practice. I'm sure the first time you did it, you would have been sitting like me,
my
maybe
goodness.
comfortable, maybe holding onto your chair.
I was mumbling, and I had this earphone in my ear which kept falling, and I said, this is it, I'm never ever going to do it, but this is my job and I love it. I do love it. I enjoy it thoroughly, and as I said, it's just practice.
It is practice, because I'm sure with every interview, and I've watched a couple of your interviews, your body language was completely, well, I saw a couple of them, and I can see there's been an improvement in just the way you project your confidence, comfort with doing it. This is what public speaking is all about. You do it, you do it, you do it. You become more comfortable, more confident, and you get better.
True.
You get better and better and better, and you enjoy it. Mainly, that's the thing. I never ever expected. When I joined Toastmasters, as I said, I wanted to keep leaving it because I said, I'll never enjoy this. I quite enjoyed doing it. It's fun.
It is.
It is fun. You have to use some other part of your faculties to do it. So I'm very happy I joined for that reason.
I know.
But you do need to, you want to be good at speaking, whether it's in small crowds, big gatherings, you need to practice. Join an organization, join a club. There might be other clubs that I don't know of. I know that a couple of schools, colleges have got gavel clubs for their students, which are based loosely on the Toastmasters method, where they follow the same thing, where you give speeches, you get feedback.
Just so that you spoke about GIM, I just wanted you to know that there are various colleges, especially the BBA stream, which teaches their students oral communication, and I think that's very commendable, because I don't mean to put anyone down, but when you see a BBA student, you take a BBA student and you take a regular student from any other stream, at random, invariably, look, I may be wrong, but this is just an observation, that invariably students of BBA courses are much better speakers. They are not excellent, but the confidence is much more compared to other students. Please don't take me wrong. I'm not targeting anyone. I'm just saying that, when schools and colleges start incorporating oral communication as a module, I think it's very beneficial for the students.
I couldn't agree more. Just to go with what you said, there will be very, very good communicators coming out of some of the other colleges, other streams. But if you just take the average student, or you take the worst communicator from a BBA school or an MBA school, they come closer to where the better communicators from other streams are. So it's just that level has gone up for these.
That is because of the practice. That is because of what they're learning.
They're learning it, and then they have to practice it, because they have to present. At a BBA, they have presentations, you have to present your projects, and then they have been given some instruction on how to do it with the oral communication course. If they use it and they practice using it, they're definitely getting better. They are being forced to practice because of that.
So we come back to the point that if you want to be a good speaker, you cannot be excellent overnight. You can't be good overnight. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes the intelligence, I would say, that whatever tools you have learned, you need to utilize them. Because if you're just going to keep those tools that you've learned and not use it, it's going to be like a cycle that's getting junk, rusted. It's junk because it's not being utilized. So utilization, according to me, and from what you have said, Ashley, I think is extremely important.
I'll give you a small analogy. I can teach everyone right now all the techniques required to do good ice skating. I'll show you the body positions, I'll show you how to turn your ankles and everything. Do you think you'll become a good ice skater? unless you find a rink with ice and you go to that rink and practice and practice and practice. It doesn't matter what I tell you how to do it. You need to practice it. As she said, at the BBA colleges, they're teaching it, and the students hopefully are using it while they're doing their presentation.
Even some schools,
Absolutely.
are teaching, and I think that is very commendable.
I agree.
I hope if there is someone who is in a seat of power and can do something and make it, a must for school and college students, I think that would make it absolutely amazing for everyone and very, very beneficial.
And on that, I would say, friends of mine who are Toastmasters in MAPSA and in Panjim, we've been to multiple schools and tried to convince them, start a Gavels Club. It's a club where people come, they write their speeches, they deliver speeches, they get a feedback on it. They're forced to do some impromptu speaking, they're forced to do feedback. The students have to give feedback to the other students. And it's so easy to do. And as you said, you're calling out to schools, please contact someone in Toastmasters. They'll tell you how to start a Gavels Club. They will even help you to do it, because it's so important for your students.
True.
It's not an expensive thing. You just need to make sure that you have time, a little space for them to get together, make a commitment to it.
And I think it makes college students job ready in some way. I'm not saying entirely, because today interviewers are looking for that confidence. They are looking for communication skills. And from what I have seen, from the little that I have seen, from the lots that I've spoken to people, oral communication is one skill, like Ashley had said right at the beginning. It's one skill that's going to hold you in good stead right through your life.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. As I said, my biggest regret was that I
didn't started earlier.
I didn't do it when I was working in the States. And it would have made a big difference to what I did. My technical knowledge wouldn't have changed. Probably the company would have done better, because they would have sent me for more seminars, because they would have the confidence, other than for this little niche part of risk management where everyone wanted to hear what I was talking about. I could go and talk about other things, maybe go for sales meetings, present to large groups where was not so technical.
And network with other companies and maybe bring in more profit.
Absolutely. So
I'm just saying.
I know that they were hoping I would do that.
Right.
But I went for a lot of the courses, but no practice. And so I went, 10 years after I stopped working for my sister's birthday and spoke for 30 seconds.
Are you still in contact with them though?
My friends there? Yes, I am.
No, I'm just asking, maybe you'd like to give my number to them.
Oh, definitely. I would.
Kidding.
I would.
But
unfortunately, most of them are my age and a lot older than young, beautiful person like you. So
now that's another compliment. It's my day. We have just a few minutes.
Sure.
There's one question that I think is very pertinent. We just have about 5 minutes actually to go. So I'm just going to rush through it, because Ashley has already given us really good pointers. There is this one area that sometimes I have a problem with, and that is how to avoid fillers, how to avoid crutch words. I don't know, possibly, probably.
So again, I will give you some ways to do it, but the best way to get rid of that is to join a speaking club. Because now, for example, at a Gavels Club or a Toastmasters Club or even an Agora Club, there is someone called the R counter.
The
R counter.
Okay, so
they're supposed
timekeeper.
No, not hour.
Okay.
AH.
The R.
Counter.
Oh, the R.
All they do is write down everyone who's spoken.
The R's and ums.
R's, ums, filler words, repeated words, even good phrases that I use repeatedly without much of ado. Let's move on. And I remember at one meeting I kept using that, and the R counter said, You use that phrase 10 times. Couldn't you have used something else? And that brings it to you. You don't realize you're doing something wrong. Immediately someone is telling you you're doing it, your brain will fix it.
Right.
I've seen that happen over and over again.
Just a moment. Do we have time for another question? Because I think it's 4 minutes to go, right? Just one more question.
Sure, sure.
So basically, you said to not use a lot of fillers, you have to
Get the feedback
Get the
from
feedback.
someone telling you you're
Okay.
using these fillers.
Right.
And then guess what happens? Someone says you're using ah, the next meeting you might use and you use a different filler. But the more often you're told you're using fillers, you tend to stop using them.
And after some time, they
It
just
comes-
disappear. This is my
Or
last,
close to disappear.
absolutely last question, because the cameraman is making eyes to me. But how do you make eye contact with a large audience? I have 200 people out there, and my heart is beating so loudly. I want to look at everyone, but at the same time, I don't want to look at everyone. How do I make eye contact with
And
them?
that is what you call planning your audience, knowing your audience. You will always know someone in the audience. Even if it's at a seminar that is maybe in Delhi, the leader of the seminar, there are people who are helping. You place them in different parts of the audience. You say, please sit in front. Please sit at that corner. Please sit in the middle of the audience over there. When you start your speech, you look at only these 3 or 4 people. What are you doing? You're making eye contact with different sections of the audience. As you get more comfortable, you will notice someone who's next to them who's smiling. You make eye contact with them. But for the audience watching you, they think you are making eye contact
them.
with different sections.
Right.
And your face changes when you make eye contact. If I'm looking at a wall and speaking, this is my face. When I'm looking at you and speaking, my face. Everyone knows you're
everything.
making eye contact with someone.
True.
Then they get pulled in.
Right.
So plan your audience. If it's a big audience, say, you sit there, you sit there, you sit there. And we've done it in Toastmasters and it's really worked.
Okay, so that's a big tip. And that's all we have for right now. Our time, I've gone a little over the time limit, but it was worth it. I'm going to get firing when I go out. But again, as I said, it was worth it. It was great speaking with you, Ashley. I hope we can invite you soon. I hope it happens though. But thank you so much. I've learned a lot. And I've got so many compliments. I'm so happy. And I'm sure our audience who have been listening have also got a lot of tips. Not many may have watched right now, but I know for a fact that most watch later when they have the time. So thank you. I hope Ashley has helped you. You have any feedback, you have any questions for Ashley, please send us an email. The email will be given to you a little later, and I'm sure Ashley is going to help you. So from both of us and from all of us at the studio, thank you for joining us. And until next time, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.